Today, I wanted to talk about clairsentience. Now, the most common description of clairsentience is basically when you can feel something in your body that correlates with something that somebody else is feeling. And I liken this very much to empathy, but in a very physical sense. And although I've had plenty of experiences of empathy and feeling what somebody else is feeling, today I wanted to talk about what is not nearly as common. And I'm talking about when you can feel spirit come down and touch you or others. So that is something that I began to experience and what today's story is going to be about. If you're new here, my name is Tiffany, and this is my new YouTube channel called Growing Up Shaman, where I tell true stories about non ordinary reality from the perspective of a shaman. So, the very first time this happened to me, I want to say it was probably like in 2014 or 15. I was at the top of my game as far as like how often I was doing healings and blessings and whatnot. And I went to one of my girlfriend's houses. She was having a gallbladder attack. And so I went over there to try to help her. And she was on a massage table laying down while I was laying hands above her. And when I started to do my healing, um, it went normal to me. But afterwards, when I was talking to her, she said that she goes, when you touched me here, I started to feel some relief. And that's when I looked at her and I was like, I never touched you. And she started to look at me all funny, and I started to look at her all side-eyed. And because we were friends, we knew each other, we trusted each other, and yet we were having a highly unusual experience with each other, and to the point where neither one of us believed the other person. And so I remember thinking to myself, well, did I touch her? I don't remember touching her. Usually I do not touch my patients when I'm laying hands. I just leave my hands about 6 inches above their body, and I can sense any kind of indication of issues just from being above the chakra system. I don't need to be touching the body. And so I found that very odd, and I almost didn't believe her until about 3 or 4 days later. I was actually in preparation to do a house clearing. And so, in preparation, what I do is I will lay down in my bed and do a meditation to do this clearing. And when I was laying in bed, everything was going fine and dandy until all of a sudden I started to feel someone's hands on me. And these hands were moving. And first, they started in my lower left torso and they just started moving up, like little bit by little bit, like slowly moving up the sides of my body. And when it got to my boobs, I was thinking to myself, oh my goodness, what's going to happen? Is this going to turn into some sexual thing? But it didn't. It just went above my breast and it actually started pressing down on the top area right over here. And then it moved down to the other side and it actually started pressing down all the way till it got to the bottom, and then it stopped. And I remember coming out of that meditation going, what in the world was that? I have never experienced anything like that. But I remembered my girlfriend telling me about how she felt like hands had been laid on her during the healing that I did on her. So I was putting two and two together, going, oh my goodness, spirit is actually coming down and laying hands down on either a client or on myself. And I didn't know what to make of this. So I started to do some research, and I come to find out there's actually a reference in the Bible to wearing the armor of God. And it speaks of putting on a breastplate of righteousness. And I remember thinking to myself that this felt very much like a breastplate that was being put on me. And so I began to contemplate that breastplate of righteousness, and come to find out it's the function of that is to guard your heart from the enemy. And so what basically that's asking you to do is to behave in such a manner that is honorable to your calling. And for me, my calling is shamanism. And so it was just, I feel like it was protecting me from the darkness that I was about to fight. And that was some serious darkness I was fighting in that house that I was doing a clearing on. In fact, I did battle with that entity, let's call it, for 3 days before I eventually failed. And so, but that's a story for another time. I'm not even sure I ever want to get into that, but I just wanted to share that story with you guys. It's kind of one of the reasons why I don't do healings anymore, because I feel like when spirit comes down and starts touching people, it freaks them out. And yeah, so I'm not trying to freak out my patients. And I really didn't have control over that. It was just something that happened, and so that just made me a lot more weary of working in the spirit world, because it was just such a powerful experience. One I'll never forget, and I don't think my friend will either. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the story. If you did, don't forget to give the video a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for listening. Bye.